And good evening, all. I got the IT to work tonight. Hope you've had a great day. It was a bit of a gloomy, grey sort of day. As I said in my Nerds forecast, it was like a Leyland P76 day. Looked interesting, but ended up being absolute a bomb. Sorry to all the Leyland P76 fans out there, but we all know the truth. Welcome, especially if you're new joining the stream today. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. Of course, what we're going to do in this is we'll cover quickly off what's happening at the current situation, and then, of course, look ahead to what this potential severe weather event will be doing later this week. And let's get into it. Of course, questions are always welcome, and throw them in the chat. The chat is live, and g'day to Mr. Sharp and Rachel, who already joined there. Thank you so much. And hope we get some other people who get their live notification that it's up and running. But yay, and hopefully the tech worked for you guys tonight and all's nice and smooth, and the sound's nice and smooth now because we're about to pop into it. So let's go. It's going to be short, sharp, and to the point. All right, so if you remember yesterday, I was flagging, and I also flagged this morning about this general broader picture ahead of what's coming, obviously, for us, and about the potential wild weather start to winter and June, of course. And you can see that today on the sat pic here is actually pretty much looking pretty impressive in terms of what's ahead for us. And I'll take a quick look at the comparison that I did this morning, but we'll just let that play in a minute. And you can see really four active systems. We've got the one over us at the moment. And you can see, of course, it's flickering the lightning and stuff. That lightning at this time of year in those systems is always an excellent sign of deep instability, which of course is what we want to see. And we can see they're leftovers. So that low is still sort of winding away quite nicely over Adelaide there. And that's the thing that's going to sort of move through overnight and give some weather to us tomorrow and of course into Wednesday. But it's not the system that's going to cause the issue later on. But of course, there's some stuff attached to it that's going to be the fun part. And we can see this Rossby wave / long wave trough activity over the Indian Ocean, and that is absolutely impressive. You can see here cold air way up as far north as Madagascar, which is pretty impressive. And if you draw the parallel to that, it's actually cold air way up until pretty sort of, I don't know, well past the Sunshine Coast, pretty getting close into Rockhampton, which is incredibly impressive. Of course, cold air travels much more efficiently over the surface of the water than it does over land, of course, but still, that's an impressive trough, and that's headed this way. And then, of course, we looked at this another system here, which I flagged, and you can see how much it is upgraded today. You can see that massive surge of very, very cold air coming off straight off the Antarctic continent. It's going to supercharge that. And then, of course, we've got another one over here to the southwest of Africa, which is also starting to wind up. So these are just basically a conveyor belt of activity for us, which is unusual given that the climate drivers sort of said that we wouldn't see much of this, but just goes to show all the expensive computer models in the world, and they still can't pick up decent things like this. But this is looking very active for us if it all holds. And of course, those who love snow, and of course the Alps, will be very watching these with great interest, because these definitely do indicate a trend of some good snowfall for them. Very much so in the coming month, I guess, once these systems sort of work their way through. But broader speaking, it's good to see that these polar systems are active as well, because of there've been a few years where they've been quite dead. We have like really cold start. If you remember back to last year, we had that really polar sort of outbreak in May. It was, and we had even snow down on the Southern Highlands, and after that wasn't much. It was a chilly winter last year, but it wasn't normally cold as we get. And of course, this year we had that polar sort of outbreak in April, which sort of heralded a bit of a change in things to dry. But good thing we've got dry out of the way now, and it seems to be trending a little bit wetter. And if we can believe models, it'll be a lot wetter this week. Looks like we could actually receive all of winter's rainfall total in a few days if everything comes to pass. And welcome to Mr. Brayley. Good to see you as well. Hope you were well. Okay, well, we will pop on into the models, and we can all live react to this together, because I haven't seen any of this. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was just going to bring up and show you the comparison with what I posted this morning versus what we're seeing now on the satellite picture. You can just see how much of the change there's been sort of overnight. You can see that there. You can see this system over WA So there's looking much more healthy. Look at that. There's quite a lot of activity in front of it. And then you can see these other systems. You can see here that one off Africa, to the southeast of Africa, that I flagged this morning. There wasn't a lot of cold air, and look at it's been replaced with to this morning. Incredible blob of cold air, like super cold air, really screaming up towards that, and that will get dragged towards obviously Australia. And then you can see the one behind it, the system that over here to the west of Africa, or southwest of South Africa. Wasn't even on the satellite picture this morning, so that's showing you just how mobile these fronts are at the moment, and that's a good sign for active polar belt, which is what we really need. Across a lot of southern Australia, which because it's the time of year when they get their rainfall, most of their rainfall, especially in that southwest WA corner, and of course along the southern exposed coasts of Australia, South Australia and Victoria and Tassie, of course. This is the time of year when they accumulate most of their rainfall. So fingers crossed this conveyor belt is not a conga line of, what do they Paul Keating say? Conga line of assholes or something like that. But it's definitely a conga line of rain for them, and it brings a bit of a good change to what the forecasts were. All right, let's get out of this stuff and we'll hop in now to our models, because this is what we're all been waiting for. As usual, we'll start with the wind gusts. Because that gives us an idea of what is happening, and we can zoom in now to local scenes. So just bear with me while I make you motion sick and myself, but we'll take a flying view. Actually, I'll just zoom out a bit because we get the broader picture. Okay, so we're going to skip through. We can just see that quickly through Tuesday, you can see the starting to build already off the coast. And you look to the difference to today, not much at all on there at all. You can see really hardly any northeasterly flow, quite weak, not much at all. And then just look at the difference tomorrow as that system approaches, really starting to suck that air in. And you can see already even just that little bit of a tweak off the coast tomorrow is a bit of a trough that pushes through. And this is the thing that we're watching is a bit of timing with the upper systems and the surface systems. Hope they correspond. They may not, but we'll guess we'll see. So yeah, that's going to sort of dominate tomorrow, and then it looks like there's going to be some good showers overnight, just FYI, especially sort of early hours in the morning. It's definitely some good rain, and even in some places may see some decent moderate falls, and I'll show you the rainfall for that very shortly. But that's a good sign that up the stairs is fairly healthy, and the surface moisture is fairly healthy too. And of course, there was thick fog this morning again, so very indicative of what's going on. And then we can see into Wednesday that sort of brief sort of pause as things start to organise, and this is where we need to start to watch. So you can already just see this is we're on EC, so this hasn't updated for 12Z yet. I think I'll double check that again. I think it's pretty still too early. Let's have a look. 10 minutes ago. So it is fresh off. So you and I, we're all seeing this together because I have not seen this yet. But already I can see this is really leaning into that coastal trough situation, which if you're a rainfall lover, it's probably a better outcome, to be honest, than an ECL. ECLs are fun and wild and woolly, but for about 12 hours, maybe 20, 18 hours at most, if it sort of hangs around. Otherwise, it POQs very quickly and it sort of takes all the stuff with it. Whereas a coastal trough, as I've been saying a number of times, is far more efficient at accumulating rainfall than anything under this planet, other than maybe a cyclone. Because often the broader synoptic setup that is required to create a coastal trough along the east coast of New South Wales, it means it's going to be very slow moving. It's going to hang around, which when you're talking about sort of moist maritime air pumping into sort of dry continental air, you're always looking at great rainfall totals. And fingers crossed is what we're going to see when we pull up the rainfall figures. But we can already see here the bends and these wind streams as come in. There's your coastal trough starting to form already. Just off the coast, that's Wednesday night, so we weren't expecting much. If we look last night till pretty Thursday-ish. And we can see that, there you go, it's actually now pushing back towards now. If my guess, let's see if my guess is right, but I'm thinking EC is probably going to maintain these pretty massive falls, because you can see here those lines coming across the coast, and then they bend and they shift. So they go from here, they go from northeasterlies, and they curve up, and then they start going to southeasterlies. And where the air sort of folds over itself like that is where you get massive rainfall. And this is the surface, so you might find, for example, if I was to bring up the layers, let's have a look. Brain. I always click on the wrong one. It's the little plane below it. If I was to bring up that, it's probably not going to let me because I'm in gusts and it doesn't do. So let's go. I'll go to normal wind for a sec because you can't do altitude and gusts because models don't like it. But if I was to go and show you where the winds are, say at 850, where the next thing, you can see already that bend is just along the coast as well and then feeding into the coast. So the surface is sort of folding over itself and then throwing the air up and then it's sort of being dragged over. And you can see definitely some sort of system moving through here. And if I was to go up a bit further, um, you can see then that sort of northerly feed as well. So and look at that strong you get a bit further upland too. So it's got this really good infeed into it as well. And as that moisture from the surface has been lifted upstairs, it's gonna get into this sort of messy situation, but it looks like it's gonna be moist and warmer situation, which is great for forming raindrops and having it all fall down, and hopefully some cold air above it, which will then keep sucking the air up, which is what you want to see. But looking very fascinating. All right, let's go back to what I was talking. Not get distracted. All right, back to surface. We'll go back to Gus because Gus gives us a better an idea of the overall strength of the system. And so we can see here, this is Wednesday evening. So we can see when I turn to the rainfall, we should start to see obviously an increase in precipitation, I think on Wednesday afternoon or evening, but look at that. And then we can see that southerly surge that we're watching starting to push up the coast. You can see that EC now sort of hooks it in the south coast here a bit, which is interesting in itself. And then you can see then it streams north like a big tongue, pushing into us. Meanwhile, we can see the coastal trough is laying there across basically along the coast, which is where we want to see it. And it's going to be invigorated by this real narrow, very strong southerly. So that's very interesting setup. And you can see he comes to the northeast there. Look at this. Wow. This setup reminds me very much of what we saw last year in those horrific floods up on the north coast, except it's the wrong time of year, like June, May, June. You don't typically see this sort of setup. So the dynamicism, the availability of moisture and instability, of course, is not going to be as much as you would see when we saw that sort of flooding last year. But man, this is looking particularly nasty on this scenario because you've got this incredibly deep northeasterly. This is coming from a long way out. If I was to zoom out and show you, I mean, look where it's coming from. In way out in the South Pacific. I mean, even further, it's coming out from basically, what's that, feet Tonga. It's coming out from there or wrapping right down around. So and look at this, as it increases here, it picks up even more moisture. It hits it's that southern Coral Sea and northern Tasman, and then you can see it. Where is it focusing? Hooking in between the Hunter and us. So at this stage, EC is probably favouring a little bit more into the Hunter, but we'll see when the rainfall comes up. But I'm assuming that the new west of the Hunter, the Elora, is going to get absolutely banged in this. If this EC comes up, of course, I'll just go a bit more. Sorry for mucking around that. I just want to make sure I keep some perspective. I don't want to go too far out because I want to see the stuff coming from the west, but we also don't want to go too far out so we lose the nuances on the coast. But so wrapping in, so at this stage, EC is definitely going for this coastal trough scenario. And then you can see the response of all that moisture and instability coming down as really fires up. And you can see there's actually a very broad trough now lying along the east coast. And you can see the winds hooking in and strengthening. You can see that really gale force, really, what's it up to there? 40 knots plus, which is severe winds, really starting to build up on that south coast and southern Illawarra and then start to push very north. And you can see there's curvature right down there, and there's no real low yet, but you can see the potential in this anywhere in this sort of weak area here where the winds are on one side and wrapping in either side. This is where we're looking at for anything to sort of start developing. So at this stage, I'd look looking between the Hunter and the central coast, sunny coast, and then you can see here, like, really, wow, look at that. That's absolutely smashing. And you can see how narrow it is too. So it's not like just a normal southerly that's coming up the coast. This is like a real infeed flow into the trough, low, whatever's going to develop. At this stage, still no low on EC, but that's a pretty deep trough. You can see just even yourself, just in the surface winds, just the complexity of like incredibly strong winds and then basically stopping. That's getting sucked up, which is why it's stopping. It's not like just stopping and the winds just disappear. It's actually lifting up into the atmosphere as it pulls into that trough, which is why there's this real area of like discontinuity, like light winds through here, because this is a freaking massive trough and very deep trough and very active trough. Whether we get the good total goods out of it, I guess it depends on where it will sit. And you can still see like here now, real starts a bit of curvature here as that northeasterly starts to push in again, and you can see that tongue of southerlies starting to wrap around and hitting this. So be interesting to see what happens here. But this stage, comprehensively say that EC is not going for any sort of low, and you can see here, definitely going for a trough. And then you can see the focus shifts out here. Here we go. Tasman low, sea low out near sort of Lord Howe Island, and you can see that wrapping around into it, and another little low here, little meso low. So it's still actually a big trough. I wouldn't say there's any discrete low there at all at this stage. It's just one massive giant trough. But then you can see it start to really skip off to the east, as it quite normal, as the next sort of system starts pushing through and bumps it on. And then I really want to see if these winds are going to arrive, or is EC going to back out and be chicken. Here they come. Wow. Oh, golly, golly. Here comes those winter westerlies we all love. Thankfully, it's only for a couple of days, but you can see another nasty cold front come through. And that's our other sort of system off WA. I think we saw at this stage it's pretty much going to bring pretty savage cold weather, because all the moisture has been dragged away by this system at the moment. But we'll see. I mean, anything can change. But all right, so EC at this stage is going for a deep coastal trough. Now, that looks a pretty wet signal to me, but we'll see. All right, let's go and see what GFS is looking at. So we're focusing basically on Wednesday, because Tuesday we know it's sort of still a bit all over the place. And we can see GFS is really already supporting EC in this deep northeasterly feed. Of course, GFS won't be as sort of detailed because it's a higher res, but it does give you a very good overview of the pattern. GFS is excellent at pattern sort of showing. So, don't ever bag GFS from that perspective. Don't ever rely upon it for specifics for your localities, but definitely look at the patterns, because it's very good at picking that sort of stuff up. Until Wednesday evening, which is when we saw EC starting to wind up, and you can see GFS is basically agreeing. As again, it doesn't have the specificities of EC, I should say, but you can see the classic V pattern here, that hook pattern, the Nike pattern as I call it. Winds coming in, hitting the coast, and then flicking up to the northwest. Classic trough developing, and you can see the focus is the Hunter through to basically Illawarra, maybe to northern Illawarra, but you can see as we get into Thursday, that trough really starting to wind up, and you can see GFS is really in love with us. Look at that. Wow, bring it right in. Interestingly, it doesn't keep the trough off the coast like EC, and it sort of brings a little bit more, and you can see here there's a bit of a low, or the trough is still in the west there, which is interesting in itself. And you can see that rapid clearing as it comes through. So there's definitely a low, some sort of system for GFS, probably an overland, well, occluded low. Looking at that, you can see very quickly as it pushes through, it really clears out that system, and then we get, there you go. That's trying to develop an ECL, very much so. You can see here northern inflow, southern inflow. It's a bit elongated, but you can see little vorticity there winding up off the coast of us and the Illawarra. So the Hunter will be on the dry side, will be definitely on the wetter side there. And you can see with our own eyes, as I step forward, you can see the air rotating around itself, but it doesn't hold in, because that burst of southerlies come through just like EC had, and then really kicks it kicks it to the curb. And then you can see behind it this really dry, cooler southwesterlies screeching in behind it, which is what we sort of flagged anyway. That Saturday was always going to be the day it was sort of dramatically sort of clear. And you can see here, and in comes those southwesterlies and really ramps out and clears the system. It's one of the things too that sort of still keeps that sort of flag with me. That let's have a look what's going to have those winds next week. It keeps that flag with me that there's still the chance of an ECL, because that wraparound, so very rapid clearing. Troughs can rapidly clear, don't get me wrong, but they tend to sort of dawdle when they disappear, and they sort of they don't scurry away like lows do. They sort of pack their bags, and they, one look back, another look back, as we saw the other day when that trough took it forever to sort of disappear. Let's say GFS is sort of definitely backing up EC with those winter westerlies too. Of course, it won't show necessarily the strength so much, again, because of the resolution size, but there's some pretty damn strong winds coming in, that winter trash that we all love. I mean, we shouldn't complain. We've escaped it for a number of years now. We really haven't had it. But again, so that's EC and GFS with a deep coastal trough, followed by sort of a rapid clearing on Saturday, sort of lunchtime, Saturday afternoon, maybe Saturday evening. And we could see one of those, I love those sort of dramatic things where, it's like cloudy, sort of bit of showery stuff around, and then next thing you know, you've got basically sunset, blue skies, and like a dark, ominous cloud bank moving up to the east. definitely that makes good photographs too. But yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, let's have a look at quick look at Icon. Again, it's only 5 days, so it will catch a bit of it. But you can see that again consistently the northeasterly feeds there. So that's the key for this situation. Whatever happens, locally and all that sort of stuff is yet to be worked out. But the fact that they're all picking up this very broad northeasterly feed is incredibly important. That's the fuel. That is the stuff that's going to drive the instability, the clash of that with the colder air. All that stuff is going to drive trough slash ECL slash low, whatever ends up happening. But importantly too, if you're looking for rain, that is what's incredibly important for the rain. The last event we had didn't have that at all, as we remember. So, and we haven't had this for a long time, since what was it, late February, early March. And you can see here, Icon definitely supporting ECE and GFS, going that deep coastal trough. You can see with your own eyes. It doesn't have the winds as strong, but you can definitely has the same dynamics. Trough, real surge of southerlies on a very narrow band of sort of jet stream of almost of southerlies on the surface, on the back end of the system, and then a rapid clearing of Etcher on Saturday. Yep, there we go. Off it goes with that southwesterlies putting through. Um, okay, so yeah, I think the pattern's pretty much almost locked in. I think now it's just what's left is working out exactly who ends up where and who gets what. But you know, 3 out of 3 models so far really had the focus of that, the bending the Nike curve, which is where the trough is wrapping around itself and folding over the air's folding over itself as it rises, which is what you want for great rainfall events. Really, is still the focus is between the Hunt and the Illawarra, so that hasn't changed between each of those models. Still, a lot can happen, but that's definitely a good indicative sign that there's potentially some good rainfall coming for a lot of us. Fingers crossed. All right, this is Access. So you can see Access is still pretty much agreeing with everybody. You can see that broad northeasterly feed, although Access does have that little sort of bend here. And that's obviously a sort of timing. It's maybe saying that there's some of that upper sort of cold air gets off the coast a bit earlier than the other models forecast. I guess we'll see. But you can see here a little bit of a difference. So you can see sort of main sort of flow stays, pretty well offshore, but then you get this real convergent band here. See how the lines, the isostreams are all actually converging on each other, and that's in itself very good for rainfall because you think about all this moist, warm air smashing into this colder air right on top of us. And it's another way, where the air folds over itself with a trough, or you get this like converging sort of band, like you can see here, which is often a precursor to a low developing or even just a vorticity circulation, whatever you want to call it, developing. So interesting setup here for Access, and we'll see here. And then you can see the trough then starting to bend back and coming on the coast. You can see there's real focus where the winds are squeezing into us on the coast. Great for rain. It's not so much in the west at this stage. You can see that, so that's not a good sign for them. But you can see here the trough lying along the coast and sort of the greatest sort of area, a little bit further north coast than every else other model has. So Access is better, but then it drops again. You can see that it drops back and that sort of bulge, that sort of Nike flick. But the sad thing for Access is, which we don't really want to see, is it keeps a substantive blob of fuel the driving force of what's going to be creating the decent activity or rain or whatever you want to see well offshore. You can see the disconnect here very clearly, very gale force northeasterlies, and then just you can see where the air would be rising, and then sort of the wrap around on the other side, which is not often the best place to be, just depending on what lying where. But you see it just stays off there, and then it does wrap around a bit, but it's not as encouraging as what we just saw with EC and Icon. Then you can see that reverse flow southerly jet ripping up the coast, as we've seen, and of course then the rapid clearing through Saturday. You can see it very much the same as every other model at this stage. Probably would bomb a massive deep Tasman low well off the coast, no doubt. And that will drag everything away, which is probably what we want to do. Like once this sort of event's over, we want to declare as quick as we can. And then you can see that wraparound westerly, southwesterly flow coming through. Let's have a quick skip through to Tuesday and see if it's picking up these westerlies like the other models are. So far GFS, EC and Icon have all picked it up. Access definitely not as interested. Oh, a little bit there. You can see it, but off the coast, but yeah, not as interested. Yeah, 3 out of 4 say it. You've got to say Access is probably the outlier, which means that is sort of what it's flagging tonight. In its this outlook scenario, completely different to the other models. Question mark next to it. We might be right and might not be wrong. I guess we might be all crazy, but it just can't be the lunatic. No, that's the song. Wrong. Okay, let's now turn to what we're all waiting for quickly. I said it would be like the half hour power. I'm pretty much on track today, which is incredibly amazing in itself. All right, we will go to the accumulation. I will use, I don't like use Windy because Windy, often the color schemes for some reason do not match the actual model. So we might just actually look at the stuff direct. Look, you know, don't want to block you guys on the chat there. I'll quickly look on the interesting feature quickly while the way we're on here. You can see some convective showers actually starting to pop up in the west, and that's as the system to our west is actually now starting to push towards us. And you can see this line off the coast. Now, whenever you see these lines like that, just sort of sitting there, not very moving fast, but then also sort of closely moving towards the coast. That's the precursor, I think, for some decent sort of showers and potentially even some rain overnight that I flagged in the forecast. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. You can see there's little red cores. You can get some decent, moderate to even to heavy falls locally if that sort of stuff starts wafting off the coast as well. So definitely worth watching. But some good showers out Penrith way, which is good because they did miss out on quite a bit of it in the last few days. So hats off to the penny peeps. And we'll quickly look at the what we'll do is we'll look at the ensembles first, and I'll show you that. So this is, and I'll make it big again. Apologies, I know we want to make it bigger, so it's on the screen a bit. There we go. All right, so this is the ensembles again. I explained what they are last night. Ensembles are basically the average of a number of model runs, which tends to give smooths out the ups and downs you get between the deterministic models, which is the one we're looking at before, which is like run after run after run. This takes it all, wraps it into a nice little sort of average picture. Now, you know, these things are very good for obviously patterns, but they also can be a bit slow to adapt or reflect, you know, a very dynamic sort of situation. Good thing is this one is not so dynamic because it's, you know, the trough associated with this or the activity associated with this is a bit more of what we call a long wave, which is a bit more of a deeper, slower moving system. So the ensembles get to adjust a bit more rapidly or easily, which means you tend to get a very big, better signal or a better picture from it, as opposed to the dynamic shortwave troughs where the ensembles are terrible. They just can't keep up because you know, if you think about anybody who's in, you know, sciences or in math, you know, you've got your sine waves, your cos waves, where it is, you can see, you know, the more gentle sort of stuff, and then you've got the sharps up and downs, where you think about long wave troughs are the more sort of gentle up and down sort of curves, even though they can be very strong, don't get that wrong. And then you know, the short wave troughs are the very up and down, you know, they're very short, high peaks, but then low drop, like very low drops as well. And ensembles don't pick those things up very well because by the time, you know, they do, the system's well long gone. So but with us, this one here, it's a sort of slower moving system, so it does allow this ensembles to give us a better picture. And you can see here again, as I showed you last night, it's consistently show these blue lines are rainfall per hour, and then of course these spaghetti lines here are the accumulations. You can see still a lot of great, you know, 120 mils is probably the average accumulation here. Quite a lot of spikes up very high, you know, 240 mils, one of them, and then 180 mils for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So, you know, there's quite a lot of majority. In fact, there's quite a lot of them above 120 mils. So that's sort of flagging that the ensembles are even flagging that there's something near coming. And I often like to also verify, you know, what you see here against what we've had locally during the day too, because obviously this is, you know, as I said, slower drop, you know, more of a pattern than it is like, you know, nuanced local sort of forecast stuff. But you can see here, it was sort of flagging sort of very light falls across most of the day today, and it pretty much happened. There was places had like Obbs Hill had 5.6 whatever mils it was today. You know, isolated showers moving through. Don't forget this is for Sydney too, so it's more coastal, this stuff. I mean, but it does, the way these ensembles work does tend to capture most of the basin as well. So I don't waste the cash and download a second one, because obviously each one of these graphs cost me money to get down. And you can see here generally picked it up very nicely. You know, in fact, all of the models except for a couple of outliers generally said 1 millimeter across the place, maybe an hour every now and then in different places. You know, so pretty much picked up that pattern nicely, and you can see sort of this sort of spike starts to happen through Tuesday. And then, so that, as I said before, and I was showing the models, that breath, that pause Wednesday, and then that real ramping up from Wednesday night and right through that sort of Saturday. Now, this is the fascinating thing that is keeping my interest, because we've also the deterministic models, and they're basically one out, all out type Saturday. Um, Once it clears, it's gone. But the ensembles are sort of hanging on to it a bit longer, as you can see very clearly here. So something worth watching, I guess. That could flag a timing issue again. It could push out the event maybe a bit further. It could mean the trough hangs around a bit longer. It could mean a range of things. So I'm not going to try and read into that too much. But again, you can see down here, of course, this is the cloud cover and the humidity, and it's a bits and pieces. You can see, of course, it stays very high, and then that rapid drop, sort of Saturday afternoon into Sunday, where the very dry air comes through, which I was showing you before. And this is your wind speeds generally increasing. You can see here basically nothing. You can see a real build across sort of Thursday. Now with troughs, you don't tend to get like massive wind speeds or concentrated wind speeds like you do with ECL. So definitely sort of starting to flag maybe the deep coastal trough scenario. But again, and you can see here from the wind roses, the green, obviously the colors, is getting the sort of lighter stuff, and then you get these sort of stronger stuff. But you can see really not much, and then you start to see this very dominant south to southeast direction and very south, and you can see those strong winds, then rapid switch shift to those southwesterlies on the back end of the system. So interesting times ahead, and this is the one I'm looking forward to picking up, because this is what's basically the cross section, or the cake, or the piece of cake, or piece of pie cross section of the atmosphere, and it basically gives you the layers of the atmosphere. And I love watching these ones, because this actually tells you the depth of the cold air and the moisture, and just what the winds are doing. And this is where we'll start to see the shift in the patterns as it comes through. So you can see this initial trough coming through, or the upper stuff coming through overnight. You can see how the atmosphere cools quite significantly, which is going to kick off those showers, and then sort of stabilizes out. But you can see this remains quite cold upstairs, down to 3 Ks. You still got 0 degrees, which is not overly cold, but still it's quite cool. And then we'll watch to see exactly what happens here, because this is obviously determine where the trough's going to lay and how it's going to look. But and then you can see, of course, this gives you the layers of cloud. So you can see lower level cloud, mid level cloud, and then you can see this upper level stuff. So when it combines like that, you can see that the obviously the instability and the depth of the convection and that sort of stuff is quite thicker, which obviously is better for rainfall. And I guess we'll start to see that ramp in as Thursday starts to come into that picture here. So that's what will be interesting to see. You can see the correlation between just how thick the cloud is here. And you see the shading here, the type of shading is really basically how much cloud cover there is. You can see, so plenty of upper cloud tomorrow, so which is suggesting that some of the rain overnight will be more like high level rain, which means that more steady stuff, as opposed to sort of convective, sort of fat, showery stuff we're seeing off the coast at the moment. But then you can see that cloud starts to thicken coming through Wednesday as that system starts to develop. So all in all, it's looking interesting. All right, I know we're all wanting to see the rainfall. Let's go to it. All right, so this is, I'll just make sure, this is the Bureau's ADF one. You can see it's pretty much upgraded since last night. So the good thing about this is I can go back and I can show you what yesterday looked, and you can see the upgrading as the days have sort of come by. Come on, maybe that's done already. So you can see really like the difference between sort of that run. Look at that. See that purpley stuff now is pushed well in. You can see this 150 to 175 is now wasn't there before, now developing and now pushing towards the coast as well. And you can see 125 to 150 along the coast. Now this is only 5 days too. This is a very short sort of term. So this sort of falls in between, Access C, which is a high res short term, and this is like the Icon CMC sort of type range, which is around that sort of 120 hours or 5 days. Maybe it's a little bit longer. I think 162. What's that? 6 days, is it? I'm not sure. Maybe that's 7 days. I don't know. My hours aren't good. So it's at mid. This is only 126. So this is only mid range. Is it all out yet? Let's add it now. So this is where it gets a bit annoying, ADFT, because it doesn't go out the full range, but it has here. So let's go. We'll add that in. Yeah, I had it right in the first place. So it's about just over 5 days. And you can see, so clearly, like most of that's going to fall. So if I was to go here and isolate most of it, you can see tomorrow some reasonable falls. You can see it building off the coast, but not much. And then you see Wednesday it ramps up, Thursday, pretty significant. Friday, I imagine, and then pretty rapid drop off on Saturday. There you go, as it clears, and then Sunday, I'm expecting it'll be pretty dry, because we saw it dry itself. So all in all, when we all rammed that together, You can see some pretty big falls. Um, that's the ADFD, which is the one you'll see on the Bureau's webpage, and it's a mishmash, or it's a collaboration, I think they call these days, of model data and also some forecast input. All right, we'll have a look at now what Access is now. If you remember what we saw from the other stuff, I'm not expecting this to be overly wet, and there we go. Called it, picked it like a broken nose. You can see most of the activity stays. We can see that sort of hook where we saw before into the lower mid north coast or the upper Hunter, where I showed you where that sort of turning was. You can see really here. This is a bit of orographic effect too, so it's a good rains and some better rains in the west, I guess. 20 mils, but it's nothing exciting. And all the good stuff is off the coast. A little bulge there, which is that little. If you remember that, I pointed out that little convergence zone into Sydney where the winds are sort of colliding. That's definitely indicative of that. Otherwise, the rest of us get ripped off. So again, picked like Broken. The Sandy Coast does better because it's closer to the, where that trough is wrapping around that, and that little vorticity we saw sort of pop up there at one stage. So Axis on its own. Let's have a look now what GFS is saying. We'll look at GFS AI as well. Well, here you go. Nasty, nasty. Okay, so big slab of 200 to 250 mils. Really, most of the basin in sort of 125 plus. You can see here that Nike flick that I was telling you about. Yeah, that's pretty decent, and that's only 240 hours too. That's not the whole outlook of GFS too. So GFS goes out for a long way. I'm not sure that all the whole run's going to be out yet. Let's have a look. You can see it doesn't add much to it, which means there's not much rainfall to follow this. But I'm loving this dark colours actually west of the Great Dividing Range, and I really so hope this comes off and there's not big gaslighting by these models, because everybody knows that out west desperately need it. Desperately need some good falls to follow up what they've had recently. But yeah, that's probably looking worrying in terms of catchment impacts as well, to be honest. Short-term stuff, like I was to drill in and show you day by day stuff, what GFS sort of flagging. You can see not a lot, and I bet you Thursday, Friday ramps up. Look, there you go. Seeing those sort of bullseyes in 2 days is not good catchment wise, and some good full up backup rainfall on Saturday too, and then basically nothing on Sunday. So again, what I said to GFS is great for pattern reading. That's not a good pattern to see for our catchment. So definitely warrants worth greater scrutiny, I guess, or watching. But again, the Nike flickers there. This is definitely a coastal trough situation. It's not an ECL at this stage. And as I said before, coastal troughs can actually probably be better. It's better for rainfall, or worse for severe weather events. And we all want the sort of blowy, sort of dramatic sort of ECL stuff, but they do bugger off very quickly. Whereas this is definitely going to be causing more problems. You can see that even its AI model backs it up 100%. Obviously, it's a bit more widespread. It doesn't have that sort of bullseye thread, but again, still massive falls across that whole part. So consistently flagging it like it's. I showed you last night, so I'm not like we don't cherry pick like other places do. We show you the good and the bad. Right, let's have a look at EC says. So let's make sure EC is not all fully out. I can see here, so it's pretty not even worthwhile showing it to you. But we'll have a look at what 18Z was showing, because EC is not fully downloaded yet. That's as much as I can, and that's sort of towards the end of the week as well. So it's not the best. And 18Z is not the best. If you ever see 18Z on models, or someone picks a picture out and shows you 18Z, 18, of course, Z is 18 Zulu time, which is just obviously another way of measuring time. It's actually created by, I think, the American, was it Navy or American military? But that's obviously their way of expressing GMC, which is obviously Greenwich Median Time, which is obviously, all clocks start at 0. I think it's at London, is it? Or the big clock there, and go across the time zones of the world, wherever it is. I'm sure someone in the comments will point out where my errors are. But 18Z, trash. Don't look at 18Z wherever you can do. Avoid it. Good for patterning, but you can see here, and I did say that there was that bit of a love affair between EC and that sort of Southern Hunter, Central Coast sort of type setup, which is reflected in 18Z. I guess we'll have to wait to 0Z all comes down. Let's have a look what AI is doing now. We won't have to actually go to the most recent one because it should be updated. Let's have a look. Yeah, all there. Beautiful. Not much change after that. Okay, so you can see it's pretty much backing up GFS. So it's really saying, guess what? It's going to be wet everywhere. And we can't really identify exactly where at this stage. So here's 100 mils, 150 mils for everybody. And it's good to share the love around, and we want to see that. And this is pretty a better picture in terms of catchment management and all sorts of impacts. Everybody gets a great lot of rain. The creeks get a good flush out, the groundwater gets good recharge. Lives happily ever after without the sort of consequences of the severe stuff. But this is still going to be pretty wet and wild because will fall mostly Thursday, Friday. So it's still going to be pretty savage in terms of like flash flooding locally, and probably some rapid stream rises as well across the place. So definitely worth watching that. All right, let's go through to the ensembles now, which is what I showed you last night. I'm not sure that, oh, they are updated, and they've upgraded and updated. So they've got the double W. This is the GEFS one, and there's two I'll show you here. So this is the one I showed you last night, and this is only 180 hours too. So ouch. That is, yeah, that's, and you can see the classic V there, the Nike V, definitely a trough. But you can see that there, 150 to 175. Most of the basin 100 to 125, and this bulge of 250, 200 plus, edging closer to the coast. Remember last night, if I actually going to bring it up, show you, um, you can see it was sort of well off the coast, not even getting close to us. You can see how across even just the last couple of runs, oh, that one there is actually better. I didn't even see that one, but you can see how across the last few runs as we heading in, it's upgrading and getting closer, but it's also, filling in these areas here, and it's been consistent in these colors now for a few runs. So, um, you know, generally speaking, if you look at all those patterns, it's going to have to be a pretty massive gaslight by the models to, for this not to happen. But we've been there, done that, so we're not going to hold our breath, are we? But you can see here, this is the other ensemble. So this is the the GEFs, E. I think this might be the AI one. I'm not sure. Or extended. I think E might stand for extended, but you can see again, this is a bit different. It's actually pretty upgraded a bit more, and you get 175 to 200 mil band is encroaching very quickly from towards us as well. So uh, it's looking wet for that perspective. Icon, I think will probably look drier. We saw the pattern. And it wasn't anywhere near as excited. We can see, and it's again reflected in that holds. We saw most of it held off the coast, and you can see very clearly that pattern here. There's still some reasonable falls about, but nothing extreme as what we've seen. UK Met, we saw it upgrade yesterday, so let's see what it does and make sure we've got the full time slot. It was only up to 40 hours, so there we go. I mean, it's not. It's better than what we first saw. It's upgraded quite substantially. So before, when it only had greens and these blue, like a bit of blue around it. So this never existed. You can see now this bulge is the Nike flick again, which is interesting. So there's definitely trophy, maybe circulation, but you can see this is developing, which it didn't have before. So we'll keep an eye on UK Met. No, we don't want if that. All right, we'll have a look at our good friend, the Canadian CMC. Of course, it's as excited as anything else. Let's make sure we've got latest, and I'll make sure 0Z is there. Yeah, because sometimes when you flip between these things too, and of course the worrying thing, exciting thing, depending on your perspective, is of course this is again only a very short range model, only 192 hours, so it's the next few days, and you can see a band of up to 200 mils, well pushing into even almost the inner west, and you can see the 200 to 250 mils pushing across the coast in places, and then the 250 to 300 mil places band pushing towards us. I'm not saying that's going to happen, so please do not run away with that's the expectation you're going to get 300 mils, but um, the pattern is there. We've seen it, this sort of banding. So, of course, the coast is going to get obviously the greater falls, but the good thing and the encouraging thing is the substantial falls are still pushing in west. And you can see that, again, this Nike sort of hook flick, or this is definitely more indicative of some sort of circulation. But again, still looking encouraging. So I guess the takeaway for all that is that, as you've all seen with your own eyes, every model other than Icon and Access now, which is sort of booted us to the curb, are all showing pretty substantial rainfall. And Access is going to be the one. Is it the pack leader? Are we going to see like a massive gaslight for all of us? Or is Access just freaked out today and taken an tablet and gone off into its own little sort of cybersphere? We'll see very soon. The 6Z models will be out sometime tonight. I'll keep an eye on it. And if there's anything sort of flagged or piques interest out there, I'll definitely will post it. But when the Bureau's other model, ADFD, is like saying to Access, you guys are tripping. I don't, this is rubbish. One out of one, two, three, four. You can take UK Mets upgraded, 5 and 6 an icon. So 2 out of 6, 7. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 7? My brain's mash. Anyway, 2 models out of the 7 or 8, whatever it is a pretty significant statistical sign that of a pattern, to be honest. But again, Access may lead the pack, has done it before, and will continue to do so in the future. But in saying that, I'm skeptical that Access has nailed this one. I think it's all over the place. Chris, quickly want to show you the potential for rainfall tomorrow. I showed you the ADFD, but there's definitely going to be some good falls there. I'm just going to bring up a Access C, and it 06 is already coming out now, so that's the morning run, so it's the most up to date. And you can see some of these falls I was telling you about overnight, some really good falls here. Now you can see it's still patchy, but not as patchy as in the last days. In fact, there's a good slab of, good rainfall here. Like you're talking about 10 to 25 mils overnight and Tuesday. So that's what we want to see. And of course, then we got Wednesday, which is blank because it's still updating. So we'll just go down and scroll the latest. And you can see the interesting thing with these bands, but you can see, look at this slab of stuff coming from the northwest, and that's what we want to see too. And I'm loving that for them. 40 mils in the west of the dividing range is absolutely welcome by everybody out there. So you're looking up to, 60 mils, and there's 70 mils in the very corner there. So love it. But these bandings are good because you start to see those air being sucked into the approaching system, which is what we want to see when it comes to whatever develops near us, off us, over us, wherever it might be. I'll just bring up ADFD again, so we'll have a look at tomorrow. Make sure we've got the latest. It hasn't updated yet, which is good. And we can see what Tuesday brings. You can see some pretty decent falls starting to bring out. ADFD likes to share the love a bit more, and it's obviously a lower resolution than Access C. Access C is the highest resolution model we've sort of got our hands on. But it's still 7.5 to sort of 15 mils is, I think nobody will sneeze at that. That's wonderful. And then you start to see these, as I said, those big concentrated falls. And then the rapid ease on Friday. So even if ADFD comes off, out of all the stuff, let's go see that last one because it's partial on. I mean, even if that comes off alone, I think everybody would be welcome 100 to 125 mil across the whole basin. This obviously going to raise some stream rises risks, plenty of local flash flooding with that as well, and definitely local heavy falls with some thunder thrown in, I think, on that scenario. All right, that's probably about it. I've gone 15 minutes more than I wanted to, but looking at what's happening there with the models, I wanted to cover it all for you all because that is definitely looking encouraging, I guess. So I'll stick the radar back up for the local radar here, and I'll answer some questions, and I'll make it a bit bigger so we can all get it across the screen, so we're not seeing it too much admin baloney like buttons and stuff like that. Well, I can get this damn mouse. I'm going to go out and buy a decent mouse. I can tell you that now. This old clacker, these sort of things you can see here. Look at that. This is what I'm liking to see. You can see that it's even starting to drift to the west, interestingly, which is that sort of surface moisture pushing in. So it's good. And we're just going to keep an eye on where it starts tonight. And again, before midnight, models only had scattered, isolated showers, maybe coming a bit scattered towards midnight. So don't expect anything before midnight. So after midnight, we're going to start to see things getting a little bit interesting for Tuesday, but not anywhere near as interesting as sort of Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday look. And maybe even Saturday morning too, looking at some of those models. All right, questions time, and have a look, everybody. All right. Hello, Sue. So who didn't catch before? Milo, lovely to see you back. Good to see you. And again, thanks for joining us. I Go Camping, lovely to see you as well. Sean, lovely to see you. Been a while. Hope you've been well. Let's go. Battler, lovely to see you. Doesn't look like much rain. Okay, I'm not sure what you're looking at. Maybe that's an earlier thing. Let's go down. Naz, love it. G'day, lovely to see you. Hope you're well. Bob's your uncle. Oh, I love that. Yabba dabba doo, lovely to see you too. Hope you're funky diva. Lovely to see you. Um, um, I'm sorry that YouTube notifications don't populate for you. That sucks. I'll go work around. I don't know how we can get around that for you, but we'll think about Mr. Well. Oh, Mayor of Wentworthville, lovely to see you. I hope you are well too. Great to see you. And let's go, everybody. I'll try and grab any questions. Um, I need a pre-schedule. Yeah, I know I had a pre-schedule, but I don't finish work till 5:30 as it is, so it's very hard to pre-schedule. I know I try, but by the time I get on, set it all up and review the models myself, so everything's loaded, I really don't. I could try, but then I've got to let something running on my system, and because obviously I have a work laptop and this system, I don't have confidence that pre-scheduling is going to work. I'll try. I'll have a look into seeing how I can get it, but I think it's just a bit problematic for me at this stage. I gave 20 minutes between the time the stream starts, the time I've sort of free to do stuff. I could try. I will see. Um, let's go. Any questions? We've got Monday Odyssey, yeah, definitely that. No questions. If you get a chance after stream, check out the live sat pick radar. We'll do. Why not? I'll put it up on here because we all see how long Windy takes to load. Let's have a look. Live sat pick radar. We need to go to day night, and we'll add the radar. There's definitely some good storms out here, which is what we want to see. Is there anything I'm looking for specifically, Mr. Well? But this is a good thing here. We want to see storms definitely firing up in northwest because that's coming straight towards us. This whole system, and you can see the that little surface low off near South Australia, so barreling towards as well. But I love seeing lightning with stuff in almost winter. It's a great indicator that plenty of cold air up there. I'm gonna make that a bit smaller now. And very good instability throughout the column, which is what you want to see coming into, whether it's a trough, it's a low, toss a coin. But yeah, let's just put that on. We can put that on a loop, 12 hours, because this one here looks pretty good. We'll just make the speed a bit further so it's not going to put people to sleep. Before you can see that's there. You can see that beautiful northeast. You can see the sort of, I love this because you can see the upper surface and then the lower surface as well, like the layers, like an onion. You can see that streaming towards us. All right, so got that up for you. Susan Roman, lovely to see you. Welcome. Sammy says hi. Just at a bathroom for bed. He's very excited about the rain. G'day, Sammy. Hope you're well. And we're all excited about the rain too. Let's hope it damn well happens. We don't get gaslight like we last time. Midway Blonde, lovely to see you. Welcome. Don't think I've seen. Miss some. Is there thunder and lightning anxiety? There will be possibly, but it won't be like intense at this stage, but it will all depend on sort of what moves over us. I just want to quickly want to show you, but we'll keep you updated. So make sure Midway Blonde, make sure I get it right. I'll definitely keep you updated for that. I know you're anxiety, and feel free to actually DM me, and I'll let you know what's going on in terms of that as well. I don't mind. I don't often see questions on the page because of lovely Facebook. We all know what the notification stuff is like. It's absolutely freaking useless. So please, if you do have a question about stuff, use the send message option. Don't tag me because again, what it does is it goes to behind the scenes stuff, and then Facebook now Meta to its wonderful wisdom forcing AI upon business pages now. So a lovely AI assistant will respond to you. I can't say that it'll be very helpful. So just send me a DM because then I get a notification saying the AI assistant has, and often get it from I Go Camping, mind you, because he abuses the AI assistant, so it sends it through to me. It's hilarious. I get a very panicked message from the AI saying, "There's a very angry customer you need to reply to." I'm like, I know who this is going to be. But anyway, it makes me laugh every day. I just want to quickly show you something here. See this here. This is all runoff. This is all water, and this came about from that rain they had. I think was it last week, that northwest cloud band that came through. This is all water, so this is great. So this is flowing down, which is at the right time of year. But you can see here the runoff from the northwest slopes and plains, and of course into southern Queensland, which is a lot of that rain. And under master of this sort of cloud here, if I go back, it might clear for us. It probably won't. But is also some runoff coming down through the back of I think it's at the Diamantina and the Murray-Darling, that's the stuff there. So good runoff coming through here. But what we want now is to see some further follow-up falls to top that up, and give them a great winter going through into their dry sort of period of the year, which is that sort of winterish into early spring, which we all know is pretty dry for most of Oz. let's go. Can we have a yarn? We can yarn read the scheduling time. Yeah, definitely. I will do it a bit later if you want to DM me. That's fine. I've got to go. Obviously, as soon as I finish here, rush off and pick the better half up and cook dinner. So I've actually missed cooking dinner again. I'm going to be in so much shit. That's right. I've had some prepared stuff. Anyway, because I just hate eating at 8 o'clock at night. It just really annoys the crap out of me, but I don't have much choice. Yeah, just DM me later and I'll respond as soon as I can get to it once I've eaten, which and then we can chat about I don't finish work until the best of times 5:30 if I get away on time, and obviously a bit later. But I've made an effort today. Um, but yeah, let me know how we can schedule stuff. Happy to do that. Just make it work. We'll make whatever work. Now I've got the tech stuff, and I'll explain to you the tech geeks out there about what happened last night. I've worked out. So I am working on a website for the mayor of one of our cities out there, Fine Web Cities, and I want to store the files to the site and obviously Google Drive because it's much safer. You can access it anytime, bits and pieces. Um, and I didn't realize that all the time I've been using the Chrome PWA. It's like the quasi app. Not it's just like another part of Chrome, but it's like it looks like an app, but it's really just another extension of the Chrome browser. I thought I actually installed Google Drive onto because I have a Mac, you see, and Mac and Windows stuff don't work very well together. I thought I actually installed Google Drive onto my system. I hadn't. So when I did that yesterday, unbeknownst to me, it creates another level of folders. Thank Mac OS, and so all the stuff that I had pre-prepared for in the system that I used to run the lives all broke because there was another layer of folders there that I wasn't expecting. So I went looking for it, and that's why it wouldn't work for me. I'm clicking, I'm thinking, why is it just dead? I practiced all yesterday afternoon. But I fixed that as soon as I diagnosed that was the problem. Just redirected all the files, and they're all working perfectly. Hooray! There you go. There's a brief session. Do I know you do abusing AI, and I love it. It always makes me laugh because I'm sitting at work and I get this message flash on my iPad because I try and keep an eye on it. It's just been so hectic the last few days, bits and pieces, and I see the panicked AI message saying, "Oh." I'm like, okay, let's go and check out what Mark has got to say for himself. So if you only want to get my attention very quickly, just abuse the AI. It flicks things through to me like a priority. I get like it pushes the message above all other messages, which is quite a bit of a interesting little tidbit for you. But please don't all go abusing the AI because I don't want it reporting to Zuck and gets me suspended. Not that it would anyway. An AI is not a human being, but you know what they're like. Um, yeah, well, it's not my AI assistant. I can tell you that it's Zuckerberg's AI that it forces upon you. And like I can opt out of it, but good luck trying to do that because it switches itself back on every freaking time. So I'm just like, so what I do now is I just feed it as much information I can. So every morning I give it the forecast and the graphics and stuff about what is happening with the weather because then a lot of the questions it gets are from people just saying, "Oh, is it going to rain in my way today?" And it can respond to that, which is great, and does that not a bad job of that, and it saves me, thank goodness for that sort of stuff. But Midway Blonde, if you're having issues about anxiety with lightning and thunder, that sort of stuff, absolutely do not feel embarrassed about that whatsoever. I've helped a few people about that as well, so please feel free to DM me, and I'll definitely keep you updated whether there's anything sort of flagged or coming up. And it's not gonna be a massive flame fest, I can tell you now. There may be some few flashes, but most of it will be embedded in cloud. But that's about it. All right. No ECL coming my way. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't rule anything off yet, but I was definitely leaning towards a deep coastal trough, Sean. I wouldn't, yeah, at this stage. But stranger things have happened, and again, it's a matter of timing. So, there's plenty of moisture around, and there's plenty of instability. So, as you can see by the lightning exploding inland, I mean, just even while we've been talking on here, you can see just the stuff near Mildura, really firing up. There you go. So that's just an hour and a bit ago, and you watch within an hour and a bit and a half, it goes absolute nuts. So that's good for this time of year. That's really indicative of like the instability that's coming with the system, and that's not as much moisture in the southwestern as we do. So as it moves into more moisture, then this is where it's going to be exciting and game on. And this here, there's this baroclinic cloud here. That definitely indicates that mid-level, high-level instability surging towards the coast. So that's exciting. And that's definitely something going to happen. Where it ends up focusing, I guess we'll find out by Saturday afternoon or Saturday lunchtime if it hangs around. Um, Mark Suckerbum. Yeah, definitely an idiot. Um, AI is starting to develop an identity crisis. It would, well, Peter, it does, especially when I go camping, gives it an absolute gobful every day. Freaking makes me laugh. I love it. Every day, it's like, oh my God, this person's angry. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. It's just, he's just trying to get my attention because he doesn't want to talk to you. Um, love it. All right, I'm gonna have to go off very soon. It is time to go. And thank you for your company. Definitely be 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Because as we start to get into this, of course, and depending on how models look tomorrow on Tuesday, because we're starting now, we're getting to that window of like where things really start. We'll start nailing down, and then we start moving from models into nowcasting because the models won't keep up because obviously they're 12 hours behind, and this system will start to be almost on top of us. And 12 hours is the difference between pouring rain over us or nothing at this stage. So and if it's looking like it's going to get sort of winding up and potentially nasty, which it does look at this stage, I'll be doing a live in the morning before heading off to work, probably at 7, I'd say. Gives people time to digest it. Most of the models are out by 7. It might be a bit croaky, but that's the way we'll do it. But yeah, we'll definitely do a 7 a.m.er and a 6 p.m.er, and be with everybody all the way, step of the way. And if it looks like it's getting worse on Friday, I might even take a day off, just depending on how bad it looks it's going to be. I mean, we can see it's looking interesting, but we'll go from there. We'll play each day at a time, but obviously we'll keep everybody updated through the page. But that's about it. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure of having your company. Thank you so much. The chat has been amazing tonight. It's been good to see it really active again. Lots of yapping going on, which is great. We'll be catching up. Again, if you need to catch me, DM me through that, and abuse the AIO if you have to get my attention. I'm actually in the process of setting up a WhatsApp group. I do have a burner phone. No, sorry, I don't have a burner phone. I have a spare phone that I use to actually run the Wi-Fi in my car because it's cheap. It's cheaper than actually getting anything else to plug into the damn thing. And I'm actually probably going to use the number for that because it just sits around doing nothing. I might actually use the number for that to set up a WhatsApp group, which be get away from the notification sort of thing, which is really kills me. WhatsApp is a lot easier for me, and it also works with Facebook as well because they obviously own WhatsApp now, and there's some functionality and stuff that they can connect with it. It makes it a bit easier for me to set up things rather than having to pay or to look for some sort of separate, unique sort of system to make it work. Because WhatsApp, from what I read, is they get very snippy about big groups and bits and pieces like that. I'm not sure if you've ever used WhatsApp. I've never really used it much. I don't really never cared for it after that. But I see it's a very efficient way of sort of getting chat going. And I might sort of offer that number to loyal subscribers, like people who turn up to lives and you know deserve a bit of a benefit. Anyway, burner phone. I didn't say burner phone. I raised it from the memory. It's just a spare phone. Is probably the word I should have used. No burner phones in my place. Looks nervously around the place. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking because I'm literally going to end up in the doghouse again. Have an awesome evening. I'm going to play you the dulcet sounds of B minor, whatever it is. Oh, anybody watch the Goodies? I just love the Goodies. And used to always have that. Now we're going to play a Walk in the Black Sea, and I think that was when they were stuck in the lighthouse and all that. Anyway, sadly, most of them are dead now, but it was such a good series. That's back when comedy actually was comedy and not filtered through everybody else's personal offences these days. Anyway, enough of me. I better shut up. Evening. Lovely to have your company. Chill. Catch you tomorrow night. Ciao.